Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on some of the invisible magic that just powers your digital life. Yeah, we're talking about the hidden world of APIs.
All right, so let's just dive right in. Have you ever stopped to wonder how all your different apps and services just kind of work together? It feels totally seamless, right? But behind the scenes, there's this constant, super high-speed conversation going on.
Really think about it. When you open up your weather app, it's not like there's a tiny little weather station inside your phone, right? Or when you book a ride, the app isn't personally tracking every single car on the map. So, how in the world does it get that information, instantly? Well, the answer to all of this is the same thing: APIs.
So an API, that stands for Application Programming Interface, is basically a messenger. And the best way to think about it is like a waiter in a restaurant. You don't just waltz into the kitchen to cook your own food. No, you give your order, that's your request, to the waiter. The waiter takes it to the kitchen, which is the system that has all the data you want. The kitchen prepares your food, that's the response, and then the waiter brings it right back to you. That's exactly what an API does, just between different apps.
Okay, so if these APIs are the messengers, where do they even come from? Well, they have to be built, of course. And just like any other piece of complex machinery, they have to be tested and tested thoroughly before they're ever sent out into the wild.
And look, this isn't just about making sure the thing doesn't crash. It's about making sure it delivers the right data in the right format every single time. A faulty API could show you yesterday's weather, or send your payment to the completely wrong place, or tell you a car is available when it's not. That's why this testing phase, it's totally non-negotiable.
So to get all that testing done, developers rely on some seriously powerful tools. One of the biggest names in the game here is a tool called Postman. You can think of it like a complete workshop just for APIs, letting developers build, test, and manage all their requests and responses all in one spot.
Testing an API request inside a tool like Postman really just breaks down into these 4 simple steps. First, you select what you want to do. Then you add the URL, which is basically telling it where to go. You click Send to make the request, and then you check the response that comes back from the server. It seems like a simple process, but under the hood, it's a really complex interaction.
Now, the two most fundamental things you can do are called GET and POST. A GET request, that's kind of like asking the waiter, hey, what's on the menu? You're just asking for information, just reading it. But a POST request, that's like telling the waiter, all right, I'd like to place an order. See the difference? You're sending new information to be created or processed by the system.
Okay, so we've built our API, we've tested it, it's working perfectly. Awesome! But now we have to connect it to the internet. And that, my friends, is where the real danger begins.
You have to understand, every single API is like a door leading right into a company's systems and all of its data. And if that door is unlocked or just poorly built, it becomes this massive vulnerability that attackers are just waiting to exploit.
And believe me, the threats are serious. We're talking about things like BOLA. That stands for Broken Object Level Authorization, which is just a fancy way of saying an attacker can peek at data they have no business seeing, like someone else's private messages or their order history. And then there are other threats like account takeovers or the scraping of massive amounts of sensitive data. Securing these digital doorways, it's a constant battle. So, the modern solution here isn't just slapping one lock on one door. It's what the industry calls unified API protection. Think of it as this one, single, comprehensive security system that does it all. It can discover every single API you have, it continuously tests them for weaknesses, and it actively protects them from attacks and fraud. And the scale we're talking about here is just immense. A single security platform might be responsible for protecting 10 billion, that's with a B, of these interactions every single day. The sheer volume is just staggering.
So how in the world do they do it? Well, it really comes down to a few core strategies. First, they find all the APIs, even the forgotten shadow APIs that maybe a developer built for a quick test and then just left behind. Oops. Then they block the most common types of attacks, like the ones on that well-known OWASP Top 10 security risk list. And finally, they validate every single request to make sure it's structured correctly, and they just reject anything that looks even a little bit suspicious. All right, now we get to the really exciting part. We've built our APIs, we've tested them, and we've secured them. So what's the ultimate payoff? It's making them all work together, like a beautiful automated symphony.
This right here is where APIs go from being just simple messengers to being the actual conductors of an orchestra. By connecting the APIs of all your different services, we're talking your email, your calendar, your project management tool, you name it, you can create these incredibly powerful automations that just handle complex tasks for you automatically.
And the coolest part? You don't even need to be a developer to do this anymore. Platforms like N8N give you this visual interface that lets you literally just wire these connections together. The rule is simple. If an app has an API, you can plug it into your workflow.
You know, any automated workflow really just boils down to these three simple things. First, you have a trigger. That's an event that starts it all, like a new email arriving. That trigger prompts an action, which is doing something automatically, like creating a task in your to-do list. And then you have the data. Information like the email's subject line and who sent it, that just flows seamlessly from one app to the other. And it all happens, you guessed it, thanks to APIs.
Okay, so let's pull all these pieces together and take a look at the bigger picture. We've basically journeyed from a single, simple API request all the way to a fully automated workflow.
This really summarizes the entire journey perfectly. It all starts in the workshop with tools like Postman. From there, it moves to the fortress, where it's guarded by services like Sequence and Cloudflare. And finally, it takes the stage in the symphony, conducted by platforms like N8N. Create, secure, connect. That's the life cycle.
This whole world, this massive, intricate, and absolutely essential ecosystem, it all operates almost completely out of sight. It really is the silent, invisible engine that makes our whole interconnected digital world possible. Seriously, every single time you check a map, or order food, or stream a song, this engine is humming away, working hard behind the scenes.
And you know, the best part is that all this power, the ability to connect, to secure, and to automate, it's more accessible today than it has ever been before. This invisible engine truly powers our world. So the only real question left is, what will you build with it?